Good evening, folks. It's the 7th of January, 2023. We have a new Speaker of the House. Welcome to Awakening Israel. There's nothing more important than to awaken our brothers and sisters in Israel. We have to defend ourselves. We have a war going on. It is being fought by our own Department of Defense against the American people. There are no white hats. No one is coming to rescue us. We are going to lose approximately a third in this particular part of the battle. 2 different weapon systems, at the very least, have been deployed. We are losing 7,500. We have 7,500 casualties a day minimum. 2,500 are outright dying each day. The other 5,000 are disabled, wounded if you will. We have 2 different weapon systems being used in grand fashion across the country, but y'all won't wake up in time to shut it down and put it down. And there are no white hats going after black hats in the background. That's all a big lie. It's a grand deception. And the boy you've been worshiping, who you want again for president, he's been like a Judas goat in this whole matter. Matter of fact, I would have to say all of our presidents are Judas goats. They lead us down the paths of destruction. I think the best president during my lifetime was not Donald Trump. Probably John Fitzgerald Kennedy was the best one. This is all I have to sell you. Proper name version of the King James Bible. Follow the link down below. There's 5 different formats. If you really want to do me a favor, like this video, comment, subscribe, and then call the publisher. Buy a Bible. My pricing is the best pricing. All of my prices end in 77 cents. Or you can order it on the internet following that link. You might email the publisher and ask to be put on the waiting list for the new Apocrypha, or you can call up and ask the office there to put you on it. That would be a good idea. Okay, I got to get some more light. Guess it was full blast. The 3-way light. I'll do the overhead. Sorry for it, but I gotta read this, and I'm open up to Jeremiah 17, Jeremiah the prophet. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is engraved upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars. While their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills. O my mountain in the field, I will give you your substance and all your treasures to the spoil, and your high places for sin throughout all your borders. And you, even yourself, will discontinue from your heritage that I gave you. And I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you know not. For you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Thus says Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusts in man, and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from Yahweh. For he shall be like the destitute in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusts in Yahweh, and whose hope Yahweh is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreads out her roots by the river, and shall not see when he comes, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be afraid in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, and according to the fruit of his doings. As the partridge sits on eggs and hatches them not, so he that gets riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. This is quite a chapter. I think we'll take this apart right now. The sin of Judah is engraved with an iron pen, with a pen of iron and a point of a diamond. It's on their heart, and it's on the horns of your altars. What exactly was the sin of Judah? It was the same as the sin of Israel. Only in the case of the house of Israel, Yahweh gave them a bill of divorcement. That's mentioned in the Bible twice. He did not give Judah a bill of divorcement. And Israel went into captivity first at the hand of the Assyrians. And the Assyrians moved in other peoples into the land. Outsiders who were not compatible, different races. And they blended in with the people that were left in the land, which were poor people. And the Samaritans were discriminated against by the house of Judah later in the future. Remember the story of the Good Samaritan. Children, remember their altars and their groves by the green trees on the high hills. They did some pretty wicked stuff in there. They worshipped other gods. They did weird stuff with the children. They did weird sexual practices as well. They did things that never even crossed Yahweh's mind. That's what it says about 5 times in the Bible, in the Old Testament. And it basically says here, on my mountain in the field. Well, mountains are generally speaking governments. He's going to give their substance and all their treasures to be spoiled. And the high places for sin throughout all your borders. Our governments, are they given for sin? And you will discontinue from your heritage that I gave you. Have we not left the roots of this nation, of our government, our self-rule, our self-government? Have we not left that behind? Yeah, we have. And cursed be the man that trusts in man. Have you not worshipped Donald John Trump? No, I understand he was our choice, and we were deprived of our choice. I understand that. But our hearts have definitely departed from Yahweh. That's all there is to it. You can see how I've highlighted and marked up my Bible a little bit in those passages. There you go. Take a good look. I'll give you a couple minutes to read that. Pretty critical passages in Jeremiah 17. However, blessed is the man that trusts in Yahweh and whose hope Yahweh is. I get pretty angry and I want to strike out and do stupid stuff. I call it that because if I do any of that stuff, it's like saying I don't trust Yahweh. It's like thumbing my nose up to Yahweh. So I'm really cautious about that. Let Yahweh step into it. Wait upon him. But we are no longer going to be able to wait because we are going to be attacked more and more. And ultimately, we're going to go down the road that the South Africans went down, in which they all carried sidearms and used them to defend themselves. And ultimately, their own police opened fire up on them, and that broke their hearts. That's coming to the United States. It'll be here sooner than you can imagine. The heart is deceitful above all things. We have to be careful about that. And desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. He tries the reins, the controls, like the reins on a horse. So he checks those, he tests those in order to give every man according to his ways. We have what's called instant retribution, instant karma. It was pulled out of the Bible about 325 AD. Constantine, the Emperor Constantine, took it out of the teachings of the Christian church. Why? Because his wife came off the streets. He got his wife off the streets, and her favorite pastime was entertaining guests in the dungeon. She was not a nice person, and he didn't want her suffering because of all the bad stuff that she did to those prisoners in the basement. And those who get riches and not by right shall leave them in the middle of his days. And at his end shall be a fool. Yeah. I'm towards the end of my life, not the middle of it. And I didn't get anything by wrong ways. In case you're wondering, the richest man on the earth at the turn of the century into this century owned 51%. He just passed away. Sir Evelyn de Rothschild. It's got that female name to it. And before him, into the last century before that, entering into the 20th century, the richest man in the world was the Tsar of Russia. He only had 16%. But you know, he got his honestly. He inherited it. And the Russian Tsars protected the United States of America. That is why the evil ones went after the Tsar for payback for stopping them from taking down America, particularly during the Civil War. And in case you're wondering, at the end of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln asked the Tsar, thanked him profusely for lending him his navy, stationing it at secret. They came over here in secret, stationed his navy, anchored up in San Francisco Harbor and in New York Harbor. And when he thanked him for the Tsar and asked him what he could do for him, the Tsar said, you could pay for my navy. You know, it's very expensive. And President Lincoln knew that the Congress would never approve. Since the war was over money, by the way, it was over the unfair taxation on the South. You see, the federal government ran on about $10 million a year at the time. That's what the budget was. $8 million of which was extracted from the South unfairly, disproportionately. Only $2 million came from the North. And so when the South protested and withdrew, they had to get them back because that's where the money was coming from. It was over money, and it was fomented by the Catholic Church, the Jesuits, the Rothschilds, and the different boys in the different cities at the different banks. They were going to invade during our Civil War and divide us up. Now, Lincoln did stop that. No, he didn't. The Tsar stopped it. And as a result, the bad guys went after the Tsar. They did the Bolshevik Revolution, which they planned and launched, including the fighters came from Manhattan, basically. It came from New York. And the funding came from Jacob Schiff. I'm sure you've heard of his grandson, Senator Adam Schiff. And so they were killed in a Jewish ritual sacrifice, ritual murder. Those folks don't like hearing that, but you've got to remember that those are false Jews. It says in the Bible that they say they are Jews and are not. Well, we probably need to go there. So we owe the Russian people a great debt. And by the way, you didn't buy Alaska from the Tsar. We were given a lease for 100 years by the Tsar. And the cost of his navy to reimburse the gentleman for his navy was $7 million. And that 0.2 million, that 200,000, payola. Seward's Folly. So it was only leased. It was not bought. The lease has expired, by the way. And Alaska should be an independent nation. You don't manage this very well from the federal government at all. You screwed up our fisheries. You screw up everything you touch. We want you out of the state of Alaska. We want our lands. We want our wealth. We want to develop it the way we should have been allowed to do it. So let's read Revelations 2:9. I know your works and tribulation and poverty, parenthetically, but you are rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. This is Jesus Christ. You call him Jesus. I call him Yahshua. I call him Yahshua the Messiah. It's his proper name, proper title. And his last name wasn't Christ, just so that you know. What you also need to know is that he's speaking. John the Apostle on the island of Patmos is taking the dictation and giving us the book of Revelations. So let's go to Revelations 3:9. I'll start with 8 because it says, I know your works, similar to 2:9. Behold, I have set before you an open door, and no man can shut it. For you have a little strength, and have kept my word, and have not denied my name, which is Yahshua. They snuck in Jesus on us. The Society of Jesus' sole purpose is to put forward the name of Jesus. There's no saving in the name Jesus. It is in Yahshua, which means he who saves the anointed. That's verse 8. Here's verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. So, the bad guys aren't the Jews. The bad guys are those who say they are Jews and are not. I just got to get that cleared up a little bit. I would really like to flip to the one verse which most of you people won't believe because you think that God is pure love. Jesus picks flowers on the hillside, and that's all there is to it. But there is a verse in here which says basically, Esau I hated, Jacob I loved. And I'd love to be able to pull up that right now. Anyway, this is my 21st show. I invite you over to the Dr. Kent show, which is titled Dr. John Taylor Kent on YouTube. I started that ages ago and used my full name and never did use it until recently. You can join me on that. I do have an important announcement on that. And the previous announcement I made in short order here, I elaborated on it over there. So you've got a little bit of lead time on the warning that came to me in a dream. We are going to be going through a real rock and roll world, a real rough time here. And you have it coming because you turned your backs on Yahweh. We have it coming. It is judgment on our nation, which we deserve, which we have earned. So if you want to stop that, then turn to Yahweh. Buy my Bibles. Good idea. Cheapest price for these anywhere. They end in 77 cents. Like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, If there's some topic you want me to address, I do my best to try to keep up with those comments and suggestions of you all. You know, some of you want answers to some things, and I do give you a pretty in-depth answer as I am able. And I have one more favor, if you wouldn't mind. Call the office of the publisher and ask them to put your name on the coming new Apocrypha. It's going to take us six months from the time we get the proper number of people on the waiting list for that. And then we're going to have that. That's going to tell you about the current status of the world today. Much better. A much better vision, much more complete than what was given Daniel, the prophet Daniel. So we're going to have that available to you. And you can also email the publisher and ask, put my name on the list. I need 5,000. If I get that many, then I get what I want. And I think the publisher gets what they want as well. They want to produce the best Bible ever. And we can make it better by including the Apocrypha. I'm going to insist on this one that it only be available in large print, 14 point, and that it be in black only, not in brown. And I'm going to insist that every one of those be tabbed, because you got 14 new books in the middle of it. In order to find your way around, you're going to want tabs. So I'm just going to say it's got to be the top dog of the whole offering, the top book, the top format. May Yahweh bless. Thank you so much for hanging with me this long. I hope I've given you something here. I will probably see you in the morning. So Yahweh bless. Sleep well. Put your faith in Yahweh. Appeal to Yahweh. Call upon the name of Yahweh.